We're starting out with this image right here, and we're going to change it into this beautiful fall painting. This is going to be quick and easy. It's going to be a lot of fun. So without any further ado, let's get started. Let's make a fall painting. This is going to be quick and easy. I've already duplicated my background layer. I renamed it Topaz Studio 2 just so we would know that's what it was. We're going to go ahead up to our filters. Now we're starting out in Photoshop. We're going to go ahead and launch Topaz Studio 2 and we will get started. This is going to be pretty quick and easy. Let's start out by adding an abstraction filter. Now we could probably just work with the abstraction filter today and be done, but we're going to go a little extra and add a impressionistic painter filter to it as well. I'm just going to go ahead and pull up my simplify size, and right there already it's very beautiful, right? And then I'm going to take my detail strength and just bring up my detail strength a little bit, pulling in a little bit of detail. I don't want to go too crazy here. And maybe something like that. Now we have this detail radius we can play with. Let's just pull it up and see what we get. Yeah, I might just add a little bit of detail radius there. We can add some boost if we wanted to, but I don't think we need it. I think I'm happy with that. We can always come back and alter things, okay? So next we're going to go and add a filter, and we're going to do a precision contrast. Now I just want to pop some contrast into this image. So let's take the low contrast and start to drag it to the right. And we're just working with the low areas of contrast, but look how beautiful that's getting right there. I mean, we could stop right here and say we're done. It's beautiful in my opinion. But let's add a little bit of medium. Like that. Yeah, something like that's looking really nice. And how about a little bit of high? Let me pull it to the right more. But you can see it's darkening up the really large areas of contrast, like on the tree trunks. So that's way too much, but I just wanted you to see that. So let's just give it a little bit of high contrast here. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and play with our equalization. Now here's high equalization. Kind of evens out the image. Medium is where it defaults at, and here's low. I kind of like the low. It gives it a little bit more drama. I think of like a lot of drama, medium drama, and not so much drama on high. So a lot of times I like low on this. I think a little more saturation might help. So let's just give it a little bit of saturation here, because it is a fall image, right? And I like all those warm tones in there. So let's just give it a little saturation. Let's try a little bit of vibrance. The weaker colors will tend to come up. Yeah, and that's really pretty. I'm going to pull it back just a little bit, but let's give it some vibrance. And how about some color contrast? These are the areas of color that get lost when you're using like micro contrast and things like that. Now I know I haven't used any micro contrast yet, but let's just add maybe. You got to be careful with color contrast. It's very powerful, but I just want to add a little bit. But let's come and add a little bit of micro contrast, see if that helps. Or a lot. Let's just see what we get. Now, see, I don't want to do that because I'm using Simplify to really soften this image down. Okay, but maybe just a tiny bit of micro contrast. And I mean just a tiny little bit. But let's see where we've come from. Here's our before and here's our after. But already I think it looks really nice. And let's go next with impression filter. Now, I'm not going to do much here. I'm just going to click on impression and see what we get. And right there, I think it looks pretty nice. Let's give it maybe a little more paint opacity. Maybe just a little bit. Now, I just want to soften this image down a little bit with this impression filter. So I'm going to take its opacity and I'm going to pull it back just a little bit, maybe to around a 70, somewhere around there, around a 70%. And I think I'm going to finish off with a curves filter. Now, a lot of times I'm taking this curves filter and pulling up on it to add brightness to the midtones. But in this case, I'm going to pull down on the midtones and add a little bit of, darken up the midtones a little bit. But look how beautiful that's getting, when I pull that down. Isn't that really pretty? So let's see, let's click this eye here. Here's the before and here's the after. So that's looking really, really nice. Let me go back to the precision contrast, and I think I might have too much vibrance in here. Let me pull that back a little bit. Yeah, I like that pulled back a little bit. And let me try the overall saturation. pull it up. Yeah, I'm just going to pull that up a little bit, but right there. But we've come from here and we've went to here so far. And I think that looks really, really beautiful. So, I'm going to darken my shadows. Now we have this lighting in the precision contrast here. So we can darken our shadows by moving the shadow slider to the left. Yeah, and I might do that. I might add a little, darken up those shadows a little bit, just to add to the overall mood of this scene. And maybe the highlights. Do I want to pull the highlights back any? Let me pull them way back and see what we get. Not a whole lot happening there, but I might just pull the highlights back just a little bit. So we've come from here and went to here. Very simple to do, right? And if we're happy with it, all we need to do is come up to accept this little check right here. Click this and that'll send us right back into Photoshop. And I just have a couple things I want to do, or maybe one thing to finish this off, and that's going to be to add a vignette. I want to introduce you to a Tony Kuiper action, which makes adding a vignette very simple and easy. And it's not doing a whole lot, but it's really cool and effective. So I'm going to get a lasso tool. I'm just going to type L for my lasso tool, and I'm just going to draw an organic vignette shape around my image like this. Say I'm getting squiggly on my lines. Okay. I'm going to come to the Tony Kuiper action. See right here where it says TK. I'm going to click this. And right here it says freehand vignette. I'm going to click on this and I'll tell you what it's doing here. First off, you can see the vignette here and it's telling me go ahead and set the radius that you want. The blur from the, from the vignette here. Okay. So if I pull this back and I'm going to pull it way back, you can see the edge of the vignette. And then if I drag it to the right, I'll add blur. I'll be increasing the Gaussian blur as I drag it up to the right. So I'm just, looking at my image and deciding where I think it looks good. And right around 294. And then I'll just click OK. And then notice this layer here. It says freehand vignette. It names it for you. All it's basically doing is wherever you draw that lasso tool, it's going to paint the inside with black paint to hide it. And it's just changing your blend mode to multiply and changing your opacity to 50%. Now, usually what I like to do is take the opacity, drag it the whole way off. So now there's no vignette. And then I just slowly drag it up to the point that I like. I could go to 79% if I liked it. I think that's too much. Generally, 50% is going to get you good, but sometimes I even go a little less. But, in this case, I think 50% looks good. Now let's click this eye. Here's the before and here's the after. But that's the Tony Kuiper action, but you can easily do that without the action. But I just wanted to introduce you to that action, okay? And then the other thing is this little area of light right here. I don't know if that's bugging me. Is it bugging you? If it is bugging you, what you can do is, let's get a blank layer. I'm just clicking this icon right here. And I'm just going to get my healing brush, or my spot healing brush. Where is it? That's my quick selection tool. Sorry, guys. Is this my healing brush? Spot healing brush. That's what I want. And I'm just going to paint over this light area right in here. And I think it'll patch this up in here with no problem. Yeah, quick and easy like that. And the trick here is to make sure you have sample all layers checked, okay? And I put it on a blank layer just so I'm not painting on my actual pixel layers and things like that. So, but I like that. And I think we're done at this point. Let's make it a little bit larger here, okay? Now, for those of you who like shortcuts, I stumbled upon something the other day. If you press your tab key, you'll get rid of all your toolbars and things like that, which is really nice so you can really study your image and examine it. And then when you press the tab key again, all your tools come back. So that's pretty cool. So we started out with this image. Kind of a nice image. It was a little blown out and things like that. But we ended up with this. Now, I would like to suggest to you that you may want to go back through your collection of images, and you may find some images back there that you weren't real happy with the editing on them or whatever. They may turn into some wonderful works of art. So you can use Topaz Studio too to transform images that weren't so great as photographs and turn them into works of art. That is my suggestion to you. Now, at this point with this image, I have these layers here. I could save this out as a Photoshop file, or I could right click it and flatten it, which is a lot of times what I do. But if I'm not done with it, I'll just leave it in a Photoshop format so I can come back with all my layers intact and then finish it up later. But for now, this was just a real quick and easy fall painting. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, there you go, everyone. A fall painting, quick and easy using Photoshop, going into Topaz Studio 2, my creative toolbox, and hopefully your creative toolbox as well. And then I introduced you to Tony Kuiper action, of vignetting action, which I really like for making vignettes. It's really cool. I'll also link you in the description below to where you can purchase the TK7 panel, which includes luminosity masking as well as some really cool actions. It's not that expensive. I'm not affiliated with Tony, but I really love his stuff. Okay. But it's good stuff. And I'll do some luminosity videos in some upcoming future videos. You know, I promise you at some point I'll get around to that because they're really powerful and effective. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe and click that bell notification icon, and then you'll be notified every time I upload a new tutorial. I want to thank each and every one of you, as always, for joining me today on The Joy of Editing.